Hey guys, welcome to Devlog 1. I am going to call this game internally Project Real for now. I'm going to come up with a name when I'm done with it, but just for the time being, that's how we're going to associate these videos. So, welcome to Devlog 1 of Project Real. In this devlog, we're going to talk about what I've already done. So, in the beginning of 2025, I actually did about 3 weeks of dev work on this project. Um, that included some mechanics that I added in, and that included some Blender models that I created. And I just kind of want to catch you guys up in speed where I'm at, so that way you're not confused when I just jump into the next devlog and I've already got a bunch of stuff done. So, in this devlog, we're working on Unreal Engine 5. I'm not going to create my own engine for my first gaming project. That would be insane. So we're working on Unreal Engine 5. I've already got the lighting set up. I've got some other things set up. This is my boat for now. It's just a rectangle. And then the ocean is just some, asset I ripped. Eventually, something really important I want to note is the ocean. I really want to be like Sea of Thieves ocean, where it's like rocking your boat. It's very atmospheric and it looks very nice. Is it possible for me to do that? I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to get there. I definitely want to try. Excuse me. I definitely want to try. But we'll have to see. But that ocean was one of the biggest parts of Sea of Thieves. I think they have like even blogs and talking about how hard it was to make. So we'll see. But we're not there yet, right? So then on top of that, just to prove concept, I've got this fish. He's just untextured fish. Everything's untextured and unanimated right now, and he's gonna kind of represent how the game would play. So um, I guess I press the play button now and I show you guys. One thing I do want to discuss before we start playing is that, first of all, for some reason on OBS, the capture I'm using for the gameplay, it's really laggy. It's a lot more laggier than it is in the Unreal Engine, like little playback, or not playback, but the little like window for testing your project, like test driving. And another thing is, it does lag on Unreal Engine 5. Sometimes when I'm playing this little test window, I'll get a big lag spike, like when I pull out, a new asset or something. And I'll have to look into that, whether or not that's just for this little playback window, or if that's going to come out in my final project. And if it does, obviously we're going to need to address that. But for now, I'm just going to work on the basics and get them, working. And then if we decide that, oh no, this giant thing broke the whole code, then I'll have to fix that later. But for now, it's just one of those things that I'm just going to blame on the playback, or this little, little window gadget that I can play the game on. And just because it's kind of in the IDE and you can compile code while you're doing it and a bunch of other stuff and debug, I'm going to assume that's why. So if you see any lag, that's my approach for now. So as of now, you can't fall in the ocean. It's just all walkable space. I kept in the Unreal Engine first person mechanics, so you can look around with your mouse and you can jump up and down. I forgot to mention I have the mouse on screen, so that way you guys can kind of see how the gameplay works. Yeah, you'll see why it's important later. I'll explain it, but I figured I already recorded it once and then realized, maybe it would be nice to show you guys what I'm actually doing. So that's why the mouse cam is on. And yeah, so I've got some debug controls here. The first one is the red arrow. That's representing what direction that fish is facing. Obviously, fish can't, go left and right and backwards without facing that direction. So in this instance, I've programmed it to where the fish will just face whatever direction it's going. And that's what's happening here. And that's kind of what the red arrow is representing. As well as I've got a little dot in the middle that's showing where the fish's origin is. It's like spawn point. And yeah, I mean, simple as enough, right? So if we go into the game and we press 1, this is my little hand, by the way, in the game, the sphere that's untextured. If I press 1, it might lag a little bit. Yeah, I don't know why it does that. Because now if I do it, it doesn't lag. So we'll have to figure that out. But maybe I need to load it in, or maybe it's just the playback. I'm not sure. Anyways, moving on. This is my little fake rod. It's also another shitty untextured, Blender thing I made real quick. And essentially, that's just to represent, what I'll replace eventually when I actually make some cool animations in a rod. And you can use it to throw out a bob. And this bob actually like bounces a little bit and moves, so it looks a little bit more realistic when you throw it out in the water. And it is relative to where you're actually aiming. And whenever you click it, it obviously resets itself. There's a lot of work to be done here, obviously, but the eventual thing I want to set up is where you could like charge it and like swing your thing back and kind of like throw out a bob, right? And get some distance on it. And if you want to do a short one, you can just kind of just toss it out there. So that's some work I need to do in the future, but I wasn't too worried about that at this point. I just wanted something simple, so I can move on kind of to the core mechanics, which is the fishing, right? So I got this fish. If I land this bob like close, let's say I miss, right? I'm not going to catch that fish, and I might change that. Maybe the fish gets interested or close, but for now, I really like the idea of like rewarding gamers that have like pinpoint accuracy. And there's a lot of work to be done. I'm going to say that a million times. But for now, you have to land it on the actual fish's model. So the fish ran into it right there. And now we're in the catching stage. So let me explain what you're seeing here. Everything mostly is debug or subject to change. At the top, you could see the stamina bar going down. That's because I'm not playing. If I was playing properly, it wouldn't be going down. I could manage it a little bit better. But we're just going to let it drain while I explain the rest of it. So red arrow, still the same situation, except now it's the fish's origin is me. Because if you catch a fish, right, and you hold the line, the fish is going to stay in the same radius unless you reel or the line breaks. So right now, that's exactly what's happening. And the red arrow is still showing the direction the fish is going in. And right now, the fish also has random behavior. So there's a couple different behaviors I want to make eventually, or maybe like figure eights, or like left, right, left, right. But this fish is just random angles. He's going in random directions. He doesn't go towards me. He doesn't break, 180 degrees and start, coming towards me. But I do want there to be a mechanic where if the fish is going towards you, like let's say they're doing figure eight, and you're not reeling to keep that line taut, you're going to lose stamina. So that's another mechanic. I'm pretty sure it's in the game, but this fish is just not displaying that mechanic. So red arrow, fish's direction, he's tied to me. And then the yellow arrow is me, and that's where kind of the mouse cam comes into handy. So you can see me move left and right, and you can see that yellow arrow go in whatever direction I want it to. Like I said before, this would all be, debug. I tried to make the rod to where it was kind of like tell you if you're in the right zone or not, and you could see it go left and right based on me missing the right zone. But right now we're going to leave the debug on so that way I can kind of know exactly what's happening and explain to you guys exactly what's happening. Other than that, there's a light blue arrow that's like a little bit thinner and not bold, and there's little dots around it. So this arrow represents where I should be with my yellow arrow. The blue arrow is the red arrow's kind of like shadow or like tangent to my location. So if you think about it, and you make a straight line from me to the fish, or like the radius, right, between us, um, that blue line and that yellow line only stay within a perpendicular perspective to the direction I'm facing, or the fish and me. So, and the camera is locked on the fish, as you can see right now. It goes left and right. I don't know, maybe that'll change a little bit. Maybe the fish will, when it goes left, it'll go a little bit left off camera and a little bit right off camera, so you can kind of see what direction the fish is going in. But for now, you're just directly locked onto the fish. And yeah, so the concept is I want to put my yellow arrow in that blue arrow zone. I can only go left or right. If I go up or down, you'll notice that the arrow is kind of changing just because I'm a human being and I can't help go left and right. But for the most part, it's not really changing. And that's because when you're reeling an actual fish, there is no up or down. There's only pulling left, pulling right, or pulling straight back, right? And that's kind of the concept here. So if you have no yellow line, it's just right on here, that would be pulling straight back. And if you have here or here, that'd be pointing left or right. So the dots around the blue arrow, so the blue arrow is where I want to put my yellow arrow. And the dots around the blue arrow are the most left point and the most right point of the zone I'm supposed to be in, right? So imagine, um, obviously I can't be perfect on the blue arrow, especially if this is debug mode, I wouldn't be able to see that. So there's a give, right? So you can be within the zone of a little bit before the blue arrow, which is one of the dots, and a little bit after the arrow, which is another dot, right? So you get the kind of concept. Now to go into kind of how the gameplay works. So the fish right now is thrashing, right? And I need to line up against him, right? So that blue arrow shows kind of a shadow of his direction and tells me where I need to be pulling, right? So it's using that red vector, it's shadowing it onto the tangent, and it's doing a couple different math, so that way it's a little bit more intense than the red arrow. And on top of that, it's doing the opposite, right? Because you don't want to pull with the fish, you want to pull against the fish. I don't know if any of that made sense, But essentially, blue arrow is where you need to put the yellow arrow, like I've said a million times now. If I put my yellow arrow where that blue arrow is, and I don't click, right, because clicking is reeling, and I don't click, you'll see a couple things. So I'll just do it, just explain it. You'll see one, that the fish is going to start getting tired. So you'll see that he stops turning as much and as fast, right? So he's starting to get tired. Obviously, this fish gets way tired, like way more fast than a fish in the game would get. But you can see, yeah, he's a lot more easy to manage. He's starting to slow down, and he's not turning as fast. Another thing you'll see is these green and red dots of acceptable zone are starting to get larger and larger. Because the fish is getting more tired and I'm pulling against him, he is giving me more room to basically exist and still fight him. And then on top of that, you'll see that my stamina bar at the top has completely refilled. And if I get out of the zone, it'll start to go down again. If I get back in the zone, it'll start to go back up again. So obviously, you want to be in this zone. So how do I start catching the fish, right? So now, since the zone is so big, I can start holding left click. And you'll notice when I start holding left click, the arrow, my little control arrow, without me moving the mouse, will start to reel in towards the fish, right? You see that? So I'm not moving the mouse, it's just reeling in towards the fish. So one thing I really want to make sure to do in this game is not to make the players pick up their mouse and move their mouse like this forever. I don't know if I already brought this up, but I'll bring it up again because it's really important. I don't want to play a fishing game for an hour and do this all day long. I just want to do this, right? I just want to control like this. So I thought of some certain ways to fix that. You can tell the zone is getting so massively large. I thought of some ways to fix that. And my current solution, and the one I'm kind of liking so far, is when you're reeling. So when you're not reeling, you go left and right. And let's say I go all the way left, right? I have to actually pick my mouse up and adjust myself, right? And maybe I will make it to where there's a max like right here and a max right here. So that way you can only pull left and right so much. That's probably a good idea. But right now, it's not in the game. And when I start reeling, like I said, the yellow line starts to go in, and I don't have to pick up my mouse. By the way, you might see the yellow line freak out. That's because it's at 0, so there is no like heading. There's no angle for the vector, so it'll just start bugging out. But that's intentional. So if I go, left or right, and I start pulling, I can just whip my mouse out that direction, or I don't have to whip it. I can just slowly move it, right, to try to fight the reeling and essentially mimic when you're reeling in fishing. You pull back and you reel, and you pull back and you reel, right? And you're trying to fighting for that space. You're pulling the fish in, and then you're reeling that space in so that fish can't make that space anymore, right? So in this game, it looks kind of like this, where I pull back and I'm reeling, and I pull back and I'm reeling, and I'm trying to stay in that zone, and I can pull to the left now, and I'm reeling, and I pull to the left and I'm reeling, and you can see when I'm adjusting to the opposite direction, like if I move to the right hard right here, see how I'm moving right, and it's not moving more, it only allows you to change direction when you hit the fish perfectly. So like let's say if I messed up and I need to switch directions like this, I let go of the reel and then I start reeling again. So I can just let go of the reel, switch sides, and reel. Otherwise, if I'm fighting this fish, let's say, I can just reel, 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 pull out, reel, 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 pull out. He's switching directions, so I let go until I'm pulling directly against him, and then I just switch directions to the left side. And that way I don't have to pick up my mouse over and over again while I'm reeling. I can literally just do this motion and just know how far I have to keep my rod out from the fish to basically keep pulling him in. And you also notice as I'm reeling, the fish is obviously getting closer and closer, and eventually it'll hit like a little hitbox that I've created that's invisible where you automatically catch the fish. So that's kind of the concept there. I guess I should go into the stamina bar. I didn't really go into the stamina bar too much. So essentially, right now I'm losing stamina because I'm not in that zone. But if I stay in that zone, I'm gaining my stamina back without reeling. And then you'll notice if I start reeling in that zone, right, I start to lose stamina. Now I'm losing it very slow, you might realize. If I'm not in that zone, I lose it pretty fast. And if I let go of reeling and I'm not in that zone, I still lose it pretty fast. Not as fast as reeling. You'll notice it's slightly faster when I reel. And obviously these numbers are up to tweaking, still subject to tweaking. But the best way you would play this game, right, is staying within this zone. If you're recovering stamina, you need to be in the zone, and if you're reeling, you really want to be in the zone to lose the least amount of stamina and optimize that. But obviously, if you pull too far or whatever, you could still reel the fish in. You're just going to lose your stamina a lot faster. It's going to be more punishing to reel. But no matter what, reeling takes stamina. So an average player, I guess, someone who's getting used to the game, or maybe the fish is really hard to catch, Maybe in the beginning, his pink and yellow zone or green zone is very small, and so you really have to make sure you're tiring him out first. So a normal player or someone who's not as good at the game might just stay in this zone first and not reel until they think, okay, the fish is pretty tired. I can probably start reeling now, like maybe like right here, and then I just start reeling, and I can start working on that fish to get him in. He's still getting tired while I'm reeling, but maybe I needed to give myself a little bit of space in the beginning of the game before I actually start reeling him in. And then for a more experienced player, maybe they don't need that space, right? They can just start the game off and just start reeling right away, and they never have to let go of the reel button, except for maybe really hard fish where it takes longer, or maybe the zone is a lot smaller and they lose a lot of stamina, and situations like that. But essentially, that's kind of the core of the game. You're tiring out the fish, you're reeling against him, and I want to make sure that it's still casual in your hands. You don't have to lift up your mouse or do anything crazy all the time, but at the same time, it's still challenging to keep that yellow bar in the zone. Like right now, boom, I'd be dead because my stamina just ran out and I reeled too much, right? And obviously the game would get a lot harder if you didn't have this debug and you couldn't see exactly where you're pulling. You'd have to rely on visual cues and the actual rod and all that stuff. So hopefully I explained that well enough. That's kind of how the game works. I think I hit all of the things that I added into the game, but obviously in the future you might see more, and hopefully I explain them if I know I missed them. So now I want to show you guys the models that I've been working on. So give me a second on that. Okay, so now we're in we're in Blender, where I've created a couple or two models specifically. The first one I started working on is this boat. I've got it separated right now to where I could apply textures to different parts. So like this could be metal, this could be wood, maybe the hands could be like fleshy. And this is where the fire would go in the concept video. I talked about having a torch. This is where that torch would be. And then on top of that, these hands are left-handed. You might notice they're both left-handed. It's because that's like the hand of the devil. I made right-handed hands that are different, but I decided to take them out and use the same left-handed hand because, I looked it up and it was the left hand of the devil, and I was like, that's cool. So if I click on this, not that one, I click on this one. Nope, not that one. I've got a bunch of random hands that I was thinking about adding. Oh, sure, that one works. Okay, so this is one of the rigged bones for this model. If I go into pose mode, you can see that I can just grab all these bones and they're all rigged upright. So if I go like R and X and I do like, or maybe not R and X, but maybe like R and Y. Oh, nope. R and X. I click Z. My bad. So yeah, this is me rotating them, and you can see that I can like clasp and change them a little bit, and maybe like make him point. Yeah, so what I'm trying to show, I guess, here is that he's all rigged up and ready to go for animations. Actually, in Unreal, you can like rig a model and animate them in Unreal. So I'm not going to animate them in Blender. I'm just going to export them over to Unreal and do it there. I might have explained this earlier, but when I first made this boat, because I was like tired of just being on a rectangle in the middle of the ocean, I tried to import it, and there's just so many options and so many different things to do. And I looked it up on the internet and followed some tutorials perfectly, and none of them worked, unfortunately. So I just kind of like tried that for days and then threw my hands up in the air and just gave up. So that's really why I stopped doing that development earlier this year. But hopefully, maybe the next devlog, you guys see me actually implement these models and get them to work. So that'll be neat. But I figured, after I finished this model, I was like, okay, I'm ready to pour it and put some textures and do something different. And it didn't work. I figured, you know what? I might as well try something similar. So I made a fish. And obviously, I don't think I would include this fish in the game, final game, because it's just something I made in like 2 seconds. You could see like there's like little ribs here, like ridges, and he's all awkwardly made. But he's not terrible, and I figured it would be cool to have a fish in the game instead of maybe a boat just to start off. And I could like make him. I also animated him, or not animated him, but I rigged him up so he could like swim and stuff. Unfortunately, I tried to put him in the game and it didn't work. So these are the models I'm working on. That's probably the next devlog, hopefully, is what I did to get these to work, and maybe showing you guys how hard it is and how I had to come to a solution for that. So that's devlog number 1. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I've solved this problem in devlog number 2, and you guys can see that, and I'll see you guys there. Okay, catch you later.